You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Press the record button on the H6. We're recording on the H6. Should I question him at this point or just give up?
Who, Guffey?
Yeah.
I always question.
I feel like
his mic was muted, so don't worry.
nobody can hear the
Oh, okay. Here, how about this? You guys want a new producer? That's how you get it.
Well, I'm just
I
saying
think the next time we need to drug test.
Ooh.
Hey, I can pass any drug test in the world. We're live.
Oh, well, I hope so.
I see it right here on my screen.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's cool. I'm sharing it now. See, the thing is, back in the old days, we used to start the live stream first and make sure that we had shared it, and then we would start on the little
Those
recorder.
were the olden days.
But it's okay. I'm not going to complain because he's free. Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 108 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm joined by co-host Kade Koger, producer Chris Guffey, and permanent co-host Dakota Davis.
Today's episode features Josh, or Joshua, whatever you want to call him, Gideon. He has the most biblical name in the history of names. We are going to be talking to him about some things that are going on in the IT field, which is where Josh works and is also an expert. But he is an expert in all fields of security, physical security, firearms training. You name it, he's the guy to go to. We're going to be talking to him about what you can do to increase security in your private institutions like churches and places. He even wrote a book called Praying Safe, which is the professional approach to protecting faith communities. And then we will be talking to him about Notre Dame and WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, and then, of course, the city of Newcastle and the future of the Castle Theater. So make sure you stick around to the end to hear some local news.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make sure that you think as individuals. Sometimes we will provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. Hopefully you'll always learn something new. We promise to try to make it fun. We're going to have fun. And sometimes you're going to be pissed at us, but we're going to have a good time. But that's the point. This is sometimes it gets a little uncomfortable. Tonight I'm going to have some stuff about Notre Dame that Dakota and I disagree on. So
that's right.
Brace for awkwardness.
Well, I think that I'm going to get called out. I think I'm going to make some people hate me from my opinions, but we'll get there eventually.
Welcome to. Oh man, you screwed that up. It's
been a train wreck.
It's gonna be edgy tonight. So we showed up.
We started so late, but luckily tomorrow's Good Friday, and as Good Friday has historically always done, it saves the day. This was a much less significant save than the first Good Friday, though. I think it is just our podcast, but to us, our podcast is the world, which is what the first Good Friday saved. So. We're here now. We are scatterbrained, and it's going to be a great show.
It's about 1,000 degrees in here. Somebody left the heat on. It's very toasty. I wore a long sleeve shirt because I'm used to it being 42 degrees in here. We came in, and you all recorded a commercial on Sunday.
A commercial, yeah.
The studio was still set up for that, and then the laptop all of a sudden developed a chirp. So we're on an emergency backup laptop.
And then we couldn't get the Mevo to work.
And then the Mevo was broken. So yes, I appreciate all of the texts and calls. We are alive. We are okay. We really know that you guys care about us and listen to us because you start contacting us when we don't make it on the air on time. But the clock is the clock's ours. We're on the internet.
It just shows you care.
You got some Patreon thank yous, Dakota?
I do. We need to thank all of the Patreon members who subscribe at $50 or more a month. Get a personalized thank you from us every show. Those people are Chris Bilbrey, Brantley Spicer, Christy Avery, John Phillips, and of course Craig DaCosta from all the way out in Hawaii. We also have the Amazon wish list that's still going. On the Amazon wish list, you will find some new camera equipment, things that we need to upgrade our camera, our whole broadcasting system, really. Some other miscellaneous equipment upgrades. The Amazon wish list is where we go whenever we have equipment needs. And you guys have done an awesome job of chipping in for that. Of course, we have the GoFundMe account that's set up for the camera equipment. And then the other way that you can help support the show is we have a lot of merchandise out there now. 3 different T-Chip stores, tchip.com/BHOL1, BHOL2, and BHOL3. 3 different designs, long sleeve T-shirts, short sleeve T-shirts, sweatshirts, the works. We got the whole works, ladies and gentlemen, and they are awesome. Let me tell you, we saw Christy Avery got some T-shirts in, and she posted pictures of them on her Facebook page. They look awesome. Your mother-in-law bought a sweatshirt.
She did, and I think I might have to buy a tank top. Do we offer a tank top that I can wear on the air? Because it is. I'm going to cut the sleeves off this shirt in a second. We are getting to
full redneck mode.
We're going Larry the Cable Guy here in a second.
All right, so let's talk about you, Josh. If you are a Patreon member, then you get access to our show notes, and there is a link to your LinkedIn that is on your name. Went on your LinkedIn, and it says all these great things about you, being an expert in all these different fields. But you started out in just the information technology industry. What specifically did you get started in?
Well, I actually started out doing help desk work.
Oh, really?
Just basic help desk.
Nice.
And, worked my way up to networking. I guess I went from there to into the information security field, and I've done a little bit of everything in that field, including consulting. And now I'm a manager of audit risk and compliance for
Audit risk and compliance.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Boy, that sounds sad.
You sound like my coworkers.
Just leave him alone. He's auditing.
Yeah. Now, basically, I look at other people's security implementations and tell them what they did wrong.
So, my laptop, I have McAfee, and then I also have NordVPN. What is my...
You only have McAfee
where
because
am I
you ran
at?
for president, right? That's the only reason you have McAfee.
But you're running Windows, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're cool.
You're not going to tell us we have to use Linux?
No,
We're okay?
No, yeah. Well, Windows 10's come a long way.
You feel
It really
good?
has, yeah.
Well, I like it. It's also cheap. So that
should we only be working off of unplugged hard drives, detached hard drives that aren't on networks at all?
So
and the
Depends on how
cloud
paranoid you are.
is dangerous.
I don't
We
know.
choose convenience over paranoia. At this point, we go to great effort to broadcast ourselves every week. So we want people to know what we're thinking. So hell, if you jump into our cloud and find the show notes, I guess you stole $5 from us. Whatever.
So I don't know a whole lot about the way that the internet works. I know enough to be dangerous and to sound stupid if I tried to talk about it. So the reason that I got the NordVPN, I have it on my wife's phone, my phone, and then my laptop. The only reason I got it is I was listening to the Big Show, We Are Libertarians, and over there,
Did Harry scare you?
Harry kept saying, if you don't have a VPN, then you're an idiot. So I was like, I don't want to be an idiot.
Don't you need a VPN to tunnel somewhere? Like, what's the difference?
I think that
What are you accomplishing with that?
it's basically the only thing I know, and Josh is going to correct me, I'm sure, is that it is the most private way to surf the internet because it hides your IP address from sites that are trying to collect data, right?
You have to log into
Did
Amazon.
I get it right?
Awesome.
Nice.
Do you have to
Yes.
log into Amazon every time you use your phone, though?
No, I don't.
Then it's not hiding everything.
The only thing that I've noticed, like the downside of having the VPN going, because I have it running, it automatically turns on as soon as I connect to the internet. And the only downside I've noticed is that my internet speed is probably only 60% of what it was.
Right. It's also encrypting that traffic.
Oh, okay.
So
It's just,
you're getting the added benefit of the encryption. So if if you're at a Wi-Fi hotspot at, I don't know, Cafe Royale or whatever.
yeah. Or in downtown Newcastle after
right.
Newcastle Main Street gets done.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And somebody,
Thank you, City of Newcastle.
and somebody puts,
Socialism.
put something on the network to be able to what's called sniff the traffic. or be able to collect the all your traffic that's going over the airwaves. By having that VPN in place, all your traffic is going encrypted over the tunnel. So if they get anything, it's going to be encrypted traffic that they just can't do anything with.
Well, look at that. And I feel so much safer. I do say NordVPN, they have the thing set up. You buy 3 years of protection and it's like $298 a month.
Yeah, it's very reasonable.
Super cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a family plan like Sirius XM?
I don't know how many devices that I can stick on it.
I think 5. I think
Really?
it's 5.
I've only got 3. We'll have to put it on that one.
Hey, what about me?
Guffey's the tag on to everything.
Hey, I had to purchase my own HBO Go because nobody would give it to me. Danny, I'm looking at you.
He just joined the live stream too. That was great timing. All right, so a little bit more about you, Josh. You teach firearm safety classes as well.
Yeah, occasionally.
Is that why the other guys here, your rival firearm safety instructor, is he here to pick on you? Matt Pierce is hanging
Matt?
Yeah.
No, Matt's a good instructor.
Because I go to the Matt Pierce school. I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were more choices.
You know, you don't have to compliment him just because he's a cop.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt, he says.
No, I was doing firearms instructing for a while. I still do, but it's not typically local here. It's generally private classes. Most of the time, it's out of state.
Oh, really? So you're traveling. You're in high demand for firearm safety.
Now, next, I don't. If you want to break the news now, you can. But next week, the president and vice president are coming to the NRA. Are you going to do any firearms training with them?
No,
they haven't asked you yet.
I will be at the NRA show.
Yeah.
I will be at 2 different booths signing books with my co-author. So the Evolve Range Solutions, which is VRA down here, will be in their booth. We'll also be in the iMarksman booth. Signing.
And what's the name of your book again?
Praying Safe.
Praying Safe. And how do people get your book if they want it?
Amazon. Best place to.
Don't you support local businesses? It's not in any local bookstores at all. My God, don't you love this town?
You can drop some off at L&K Produce. We'll stock them for you.
It's a Barnes and Noble in Carmel. If you want to go.
Nice.
All right.
So
very cool. And I suppose if you buy it at L&K, we can find a way to get it signed for you as well.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, we didn't have the idea of having
buy 100 pounds of cucumber, get a book free.
We didn't have the idea of hosting a book signing here until 2 days ago. Otherwise, we would have done it for you too. So sorry, Patreon members, you're just gonna have to go to L&K Farms and get the book and buy those 20 pounds of cucumbers.
100. This is I guess this is the commercial for the those of you that are not yet in the Patreon. We made an announcement in the Patreon feed today, and it was rolled out to those folks. But our show on is it May 8th? May 2nd.
May the 2nd.
May the
Thursday,
2nd
May
show.
2nd.
Eric Schonsberg, the IU Southeast Professor of Economics, is going to be on the program, and we're going to open up the doors for anybody that is a Patreon member at that point. So if you've been thinking about joining and, hey, I just don't know what to get out of it, join us any level, preferably $5 or more, so it's worth your time. But it really could go in there for $1, and we'll let you show up. And Eric will come by. We'll take care of his book for you. We'll give you a copy of whatever book you want that he brought in his collection. We'll get it signed. You'll get to meet him, and we'll have a fun night. So we'll have kind of an open house here. You guys can watch the show and check that out. So go sign up, join the Patreon today. Patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty, and we'll get you hooked up. And we're talking about some other fun content as well. So if you've been kicking around the idea of joining, we're not making any promises, but some things we've talked about, or maybe some promotional items, maybe a calendar. Kade is already really, really pushing to be Mr. June. I don't know. We'll see.
Not on my watch.
They may have to wrestle for it, but we're talking about maybe doing an 18-month calendar. And some other fun ideas too. So, join that. You're not there yet. Get in, make it happen.
So, Josh, the name of the book is Praying Safe, the professional approach to protecting faith communities.
Right.
Go a little bit more in depth about what you guys wrote about.
Okay, yeah. So my co-author, his name is Grant Cunningham, and he is a very experienced author. and an expert with revolvers.
Okay.
So he's been doing revolver stuff for many years now. And he's written, I don't even know how many books on the topic. But so he's seasoned author, and we started chatting one day and started talking about some of the church security stuff that we had both done. He's Jewish, I'm Christian. So we decided we either had the start of a really good stand-up routine, or we could write a book. So after a lot of persuasion, we wrote the book. So,
cool.
But
How long's it been out? Is it just last
since
year?
December.
So it's brand new.
Yeah, fairly new.
Very exciting. And you're on the Courier Times bestseller list, I heard.
Kind of funny you mentioned that. We were actually on the Amazon bestseller list for our category.
Were you?
Yeah, for let's see, we were number one new selling book in religion, and then I don't know, we had a few others that we hit on that.
A list
You
of
won all the
accolades.
awards. That is actually really neat.
Yeah,
It's very impressive.
So you were also a personal hero of Kade's, we found out
Yeah.
in the planning chat.
Oh, wow.
I didn't see that on your LinkedIn. But-
Well,
Starting to think Cade's just your agent. He gets 10%.
I took my very first firearms class with Josh.
Really?
He threw me into the world of firearms training, and that's where I got my start.
So Jade has him to blame for all of the money spent.
She was there too.
To me.
She took that class too.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
But it also says you do some consulting work for places of worship. So
Yeah.
what's that mean?
Okay, so in conjunction with the book, we one of the things that Grant and I found was that we everybody just wants to do active shooter training.
Right.
Yet when you look at the possibility of problems that could occur within your places of worship, it's all across the board. You're probably more likely to have a medical issue than you are a guy coming in with a machine gun.
Right.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
The violence is people talk about it, but it's much less common.
Right.
What happened in New Zealand is hopefully a once a generation thing, right?
Right. So what we do is we take a risk management approach. Something that that's very common in corporate America, corporate security. We have taken that and shaped it so that it will work for places of worship, and not specifically Christian places of worship. That's one of the things that we found was that most of the books out there are focused on either a particular religion or the author's experience in the 2 or 3 churches that they've been involved with. And so what we wanted to do was come up with something that will work no matter what scale the church or synagogue or mosque or whatever is, and work within their the constraints of their traditions, their the members' attitudes towards security and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
Just in theory, the first one that comes to mind in this part of the country, for those that listen nationally, we're the home place of the Quakers, which are a pacifist group.
Right.
So if you're looking at somebody like the Quakers, what kind of security measures are you putting in place?
Well, so they're probably the most challenging, right?
Right.
Because of their pacifist views. I've had some discussions with people that do have a more pacifist view, and I think you can still find some sort of a compromise. Yeah, they may not have armed security in their place of worship, but maybe they do. Maybe they are okay with having armed security, on the premises that they hire. Maybe they have, whatever. I've even got so far as to tell them, okay, so if you really truly believe that your faith is the thing that's going to protect you, let's put a plan together that's based on that. Do you have plans for praying about this? Do you have other, whatever. If you believe in fasting, if you believe, what are you doing to help, ensure that?
Right.
That's a little bit on the extreme side.
I don't know if you know who John Piper is. He's a Reformed theologian, Christian theologian, and he has. I've heard him make the argument before that he doesn't have a firearm because he believes that if a man breaks into his home, then John Piper says, "I know where I'm going when I die, but obviously this man is troubled, and how selfish of me to be so." Confident in my faith and my afterlife to take that man's life.
Well, that's an approach, but
I don't take that approach, but I think I don't know. It's almost, you can't help but look at it and be like, it's pretty honorable, really. Like to be, that's a lot of faith that he's carrying around on his shoulders.
There's really kind of a scale to it. Like you don't have to be John Wick, to be able to protect yourself or your congregation. Right. But you can go a long way with prevention methods as far as making yourself a hard target.
Right. Make yourself harder to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dogs, moats.
Yeah. If you have
but
to.
you said
simply locking the doors.
Yeah.
Hiring a PSD.
So another thing I was going to ask you is what your number one, so a church calls you and they say, we want some security tips, but we don't have any money, so just give me your number one recommendation.
So you see these things all the time. You see these top 10 lists of, do these top 10 things in your
Kade sent me one today,
secure.
and the second one was try to buy homeowners insurance or something. It was a click ad. I was tricked.
Yeah, my information is obviously being sold somewhere. This whole week I've been playing Mr. Handyman at my house, and I had this ad come across Facebook about homeowners and top 10 things to do in the spring.
Get you a VPN, dude.
Yeah, I'm getting zucked over here.
So I kind of shy away from those, general, do this one thing.
It's a custom plan for.
It has to be. Every church that I've gone into and consulted with is unique, is different. There's something, the members react differently to certain things. One thing that we found, just going in and calling something a security team is an immediate turnoff for most places. Mm-hmm. Now, if I change that, same people, same purpose, everything, but I call them a safety team, boom, the attitude changes instantly.
Yep. Yeah. It turns up and
I
turns
can see
down.
that.
Yeah.
What about, say, old French churches and fire protection?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is kind of interesting. Do you want to get into that now?
Yeah,
it's all part of developing that plan, right?
Right.
Absolutely. It's not just active shooter plans. Like you said, it's any emergency.
Right. Fire safety issues. We've got, one of the things we talk about is, churches are now, first line defense for mental health issues. A majority of people with mental health issues, they go to a church first.
Right.
That puts them at a great risk. What plans do they have in place to deal with someone who, is beyond their capability of dealing with?
Right. Someone who might be right on the hinges almost popped.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We say that with many of the cultural ills that we have, go to a church, right? Whether it's a drug addiction or mental health issue. And then it's a question of, okay, is it just a regular guy, or does somebody have actual training or is prepared to deal with the issues that are coming there? So as a security expert that's consulting for them, you've got to probably that goes back to the custom side of,
sure, are they, big enough and scaled up enough that they can deal with it? Or is it a very basic, it's a lay pastor kind of a deal? Right. So, one of the things we do is we look at, if there's one thing that I would tell them to do is put a risk assessment together. Now that's not an easy, once.
So what you do is you take your members list and you force rank them by who's craziest. And then,
yeah. One of the things is actually, something we have not found in any other book on this. I use, a term called, target-based risk assessment.
All right.
And what we do is, we actually identify all the potential targets within the place of worship, and then we build off of that. So, starting with people, but that's too general. So now we get into specifics. So we have different groups of people. We have maybe children in a Bible class. We've got leadership, church leadership. And we start assessing the risk based on those groups of people, which one could be higher, what, and then we start looking at, okay, so these are all potential targets. Are there any threats against them? What are the potential threats that we, towards, a parent, divorced parent coming in, taking the child from the Bible class, kind of issue. And so we start building that until we get a list of scenarios. We also do a risk score. We in the book, we talk about what's called a quantitative risk assessment. It's not your little color code things that you see in a lot of the little templates that you download and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're talking about having justification for the numbers that we're putting in place.
Okay.
When we do that risk calculation, we have justification for that. So if we ever go to court or are scrutinized over it, we can actually have something that links back. We have justification for what we're doing.
Nice. Yeah.
So
someone in a church, they're listening to this right now, and they're like, my church needs this. How do they get a hold of you for this, for the risk assessment?
Okay. I do workshops. I'm actually doing one at VRA, here in, it's the Monday, Tuesday after the NRA show.
Okay. So the first and second of May?
Yeah, I think that's something.
God, I've got a calendar in my head. I feel so skilled. Matt says 29th, 30th.
There you go.
It's the last day, the last 2 days of the month.
We had a
I'm
Boss
just going to
Hog
show
calendar.
up,
We can peek into it and see.
So I do that. I've done workshops in Illinois, Ohio, kind of basically within driving distance. I can also work with individuals, like individual churches, if they want me to come in and work with them specifically on putting that infrastructure in place. And they can find me on my website, nosofttargets.com.
All right. nosofttargets.com.
Oh, very cool. We will leave that portion there. And we will gently pivot. This is when we don't have a good transition. We just say gently pivot, which is just me taking the bus and crashing and turning.
Then we point out the fact that we didn't have a smooth transition.
Yes. Studies have shown it works better this way.
Then we give it a whole minute to talk about it.
Yeah. We have a formula. Don't screw it up, Kade. So Notre Dame is a school in South Bend. Notre Dame is the church in France. And we're going to use this interchangeably because we live in Indiana. Tuesday's episode of We're Libertarians, I got crushed by Chris Spangle, our dear leader and our syndicator. But Sarah Brady Wagner and Harry Price took my side. We've been talking about this fire, and Dakota and I think are on separate sides unless he's finally come back around.
I don't think so.
I think so. Basically, yes, it sucks, right? A very historic facility burnt, and that's sad.
Church,
a building, a church, a facility. My contention is the church is the people, right?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Nobody died,
right?
Like 0 deaths. So
I think one firefighter got injured.
Okay, but nobody's dead, right? Like overall, this isn't like people are comparing it to 9/11 and other, terrible, tragic things.
Sure.
When it's happening, you don't know if it's terrorism. You don't know if it was apparently it was an ongoing construction site. So it sounds like at this point, at least, that it was probably a construction.
I don't know that
problem.
they know that yet.
suspected. There's no. I don't think there's a guarantee of anything.
They're
but there
still
was,
investigating.
Yeah. And even as of today, there was some speculation that there's rumors that the workers weren't even there yet.
Yeah.
Well,
and they
trust me,
reportedly
it doesn't take somebody being on site for construction site to go
Yeah.
terribly wrong.
Also, as of today, it's looking like the fire may have started in 2 locations.
Oh, wow.
So,
We will see.
it's looking less like an accident as of now.
Don't forget that there was an intentional church fire set in March.
Yes.
In
112 different churches in all of France have been vandalized, whether it be from arson, destruction of property, in other forms. So, it's
875 in 2018.
wow.
Wow.
So what I will say is, yes, if it's criminal, terrible, prosecute, but nobody died, right? And there are been a tremendous amount of people in the last couple of days that have found an opportunity to mention how they've gone to France and how they're much more, well, they've toured much more than I have, and it's been a chance to share their selfie from 2013, right? Yeah, I went. But more than anything else, to me, I feel like it can be rebuilt, right? So, I mean, we had our Catholic church here in town burnt in a natural causes 15 years ago or whatever, and it was rebuilt.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the St. Anne's Catholic Church.
It was arson.
Okay, well, whatever. But it's rebuilt, right? No,
Look at Jeremiah. He's just... you have changed your tone. I haven't changed my tone.
No.
The day that the fire happened, you said, it's a damn building.
And that's the point, right? It is a building. It's not the people.
It's a historically important building.
It's a historic building, yes.
It's an economically significant building for that area.
And all of the people there will be fine as it's rebuilt. In the libertarian world, we look at this and say, "Hey, somebody threw a rock through a window." I guess the economy was stimulated. Right. Thanks, Paul Krugman. Anything can be rebuilt, right? Anything can be rebuilt with enough money.
That's
enough time,
where I'm differing.
It can be rebuilt.
I don't want them to rebuild.
You just want it to be a shell of itself.
I want them to make it safe, and I want them to be able to clean it up, make it safe, and keep what is left, but not make an effort to try to rebuild, even if they tried to do an exact replica. Because I think it's more of a... we tour old, worn-down castles throughout all of Europe. It's a reminder of what was and then what happens. It's like a memento mori or a amor fati type symbolism.
So is the next thing you're going to do is compare it to the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, where you go look at the cars that are still down there?
I don't know, but I think it's totally different. I don't think that we could ever do it justice by trying to bring it back. By even, especially with Macron, his comments of "we will rebuild and it will be a reflection of our much more diverse modern society."
Right.
With those comments, I say definitely don't touch it.
Yeah. So it's always been changing. The spire that's gone apparently is 150 years old. The building itself goes back 850 years or so.
Always changed. But
every generation puts their mark on it.
Yep.
Because people 800 years ago built it doesn't mean that modern architects can't take their shot at it. And hey, this is what it used to be. This is what it's going to be now.
I read an interesting article that stated that there are no trees in France tall enough to build the same lumber that was used to build it back to its original state.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's really, wow.
Huh. Redwoods in California.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't think it's necessarily good.
There was another one where they said that the video game Assassin's Creed, that they could use the laser.
They've got full modeling that they did.
Full modeling, yeah, the way they designed the game, that they could possibly use those designs.
See, I would feel more comfortable if they decided to do a total replacement.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't.
The building's not a total loss. They lost, essentially they lost the. The glass is still there. The exterior walls are still there. Basically, anything that was wooden in the structure is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Or damaged badly.
I think that the biggest thing that they found that was saved were the iconic rose windows.
Of course, Kade's tattoo is after the Notre Dame rose window.
That's why we have him sitting where he is, so the people can't see it.
Yeah.
Peony with a butter knife, everybody. That's what I see.
I was told to wear a turtleneck tonight. Didn't happen.
Just a one-sided.
That's what kind of rebel I am.
But yeah, the rose, the stained glass, the rose window or windows are both fine. Those are stained glass windows that are from the 13th century.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's awesome.
It's cultural significance, yes, right? I get that, but at the same time, every time something happens, and it could happen at any point. We could have a earthquake. We could have a tornado. Fires happen.
You could lose a blade off a wind turbine.
The White House burnt at one point, right? I mean, these things happen. I really get sad over sick kids and and death. It's a building. This isn't. There are worse things that I've seen in my life, and I'm going to see a whole lot worse in my life than this one.
To your point on the, there was no loss of life. Ultimately, if you're putting a security plan in place, that's the ultimate goal. A building can burn. That's okay, as long as we can save the life that's in it.
Yep.
So they're designed to do. That's the way I looked at it.
They're sacrificial, aren't they?
It's a building, right? So from the church side, it's like, and this is where I'm going to push the boundaries of pissing some people off. It's not idolatry. It's not an idol. It's not the golden fatted calf, right?
Absolutely.
It's a building. The church is the people,
right?
Whether it's the Catholic Church, a Baptist church, or whatever denomination you're talking about. Sure. Christians are taught that when two or more are gathered or whatever, that's the church,
right?
So the building is what it is. It's utilitarian.
That's right.
So catastrophes like that is where the strength of the church really shines. Right. Rebuilding.
Yeah,
people can pitch back in and they'll rebuild it. Sure. It'll be okay.
Sure. They've now surpassed over €1 billion euros that have been raised. Most of that's come from three families, right? I think
one was Louis Vuitton.
Yeah. So it's I think that I read actually in an article today that said that there needs to be some backstory to that. The building itself, the cathedral itself, is technically owned by the French government, but because of France's 1905 separation of church and state that happened, it was no longer to be considered a religious building, right? Yeah,
I figured it out. Dakota and I have spent the last 2 weeks looking at this, going, "What the hell's going on with the screen?" We just figured out every time somebody has a like or an emoticon of some sort,
Mark Sean Orr says it's just a building, and yeah, I agree with you, Mark. It is a very culturally significant building, and it was a sad day that it burned.
It is sad, but we didn't lose any lives, and time marches on.
I don't think we can rebuild it about that. I don't know that I want it rebuilt still.
All right, we can argue over that.
Let's hash it out.
At least everybody's still alive to argue over it.
Yeah. But I think that they are going to rebuild. And if they do an exact replica, then like I said, I like that more, but it's ultimately not my country. I don't want Donald Trump tweeted out that it would be that something about giving federal aid to Paris to try to rebuild. And I am totally opposed to that idea.
What other federal aid do you want to cut to replace that federal aid?
Yeah.
You going to take money from Israel?
But anyway, yeah. Take money from Israel to help rebuild the church.
I mean, they just landed something on the moon, didn't they?
The French?
No, Israel.
No, Israel. Or did that fail?
Why do they need our aid if they just...
They used our money to get it to the moon.
Gotcha.
Just like all of Israel's defense spending and any kind of weapon spending comes from the United States.
Quick rapid fire. Real quick rapid fire around the room. Am I a dick? Kade?
No.
Guffey?
Nah, not really.
Josh? Dakota?
No, you softened your tone today. You were way more harsh in the group chat when no one was listening.
It's the same message.
No, totally different.
You said the same message.
He was never on Ari Shafir's level.
No, it wasn't at that level.
It's the same message.
But we never would have heard you say that it was a sad day.
Well, I did say that. It was my preface before, and then we got into the argument. But it's idolatry. It's like a false idol. That's what I see. That's the way I see people reacting to it. So we'll move on. Julian Assange, we talked about this last week a little bit. It happened the day we did the show, and that was already baked in, so we weren't going to change anything. But Julian Assange was arrested in Europe. Big week in Europe. We don't normally cover Europe news, but that's all we're doing over here.
Local stories, international impact.
Yeah. So the Ecuadorians said, "Yeah, we need a loan from the IMF." And next thing you know, no, we don't need you anymore. And they go in, they arrest him, and he's coming back to the U.S. So Trump called him a hero before and indicated maybe he would pardon the guy. So here, rubber's going to meet the road in a minute.
But now Trump's acting like he's never even heard of WikiLeaks.
Yeah. Who is this?
What's this WikiLeaks?
Never heard of her. Anyway, so
she was caught with Robert Kraft in Florida.
since everybody knows that Julian Assange was arrested, I figured that instead of just talking about that, we might give a breakdown and kind of a timeline of WikiLeaks and Assange himself, and kind of talk about the history of it leading up to his arrest. So I have a whole timeline.
So this is something that he's been in hiding for about 7 years. So it's
7 years.
The public consciousness has kind of forgotten, well, one, that he exists or who he is, and two, why he mattered to the American people.
He grew a pretty good beard, and well, actually, a pretty weak beard for 7 years.
It was a David Letterman beard.
Just the perspective of it being 7 years in the same embassy. He's not left. That's just mind blowing to me.
Isn't that crazy? He had to have been feeling like Gollum, like just in there.
I have it pictured like staying in my college dorm for 7 years. Nope.
I'm just thinking Netflix.
Would you rather
some beer?
Would you rather do prison?
Guffey's over here like, not that bad.
Guffey's like, this is pretty spacious.
It probably would be. I'd probably have to be like, get this couch out of here. This is too much.
He didn't have internet access either, did he?
He did for a while.
He did. For a little while?
The last 2 years, he did not.
Okay.
Or no, just 1 year. We'll get to that in the timeline. WikiLeaks was founded in 2008 by Julian Assange, and he kind of built up. Started out with just himself, and he was procuring some emails, documents, he was talking to people, getting information, and he's publishing them on the internet through wikileaks.com. And then he started his Twitter page and was able to, and started posting links to his website through the Twitter page and the Titter page.
It's new. Look it up.
In 2010, the Swedish police issued a warrant for his arrest, and it was based on sexual assault and rape charges. 2 women came forward alleging sexual assault. I've seen a couple different reports. One report said that the sexual assault was because both of them had slept with Assange and said that he gave them STDs but didn't tell them. And then another report that came later says they're rape charges. Okay, we'll get to that more in a minute. He takes asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy just from the sexual assault charges or the rape charges. And he's basically in there. He continues to run WikiLeaks and keeps publishing things for 7 years inside the Ecuadorian embassy. The arrest warrant is rescinded the day after that it is issued, okay, from Sweden. I guess their equivalent of a attorney general says, nope, we're not pressing or pursuing charges anymore. So he's off scot-free, but he doesn't know. He never learns that it was rescinded the day after, because in 2010, when he was still in Ecuador, the charges get brought up against him for a second time. The rape charges. Mm-hmm. Same exact from 2008. Yeah. So it happens a second time, and he's continuing to leak government documents for governments all over the world, most notably the United States, though. And
he did some things that were very, very embarrassing to the Clintons.
Yes.
Right. And Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State.
Yeah.
The Iraq papers were about that time as well.
This is what led to the U.S. A lot of the international opinion of the U.S. is dabbling in the Middle East in the last 15 years, being less than what we had said it was. It was compromising.
So over the course of these 7 years, it's found out that the charges against Assange in Sweden
They were dropped and they went away.
Were dropped, went away, and then are refiled 6 times. 6 different times from the Swedish government. But in 2000, I think actually it was 2016, the government of, I think it was the European Union, brought charges against him. That's not in the show notes. But in 2017, a year later, Jeff Sessions announces that the Justice Department is going to file charges against Assange because of things that were brought against him that were found out after.
Is this the tampering with government computer charges that he's facing now?
Right. And that was found out through Chelsea Manning, the other government whistleblower. Right. So there's speculation that Manning is the one that gave up Assange for asking for information and access to the government computers. We don't know that, though. We probably could have found out in the Mueller report.
In the Mueller report.
But it was all redacted. So. Anyway.
Good memes, though. Good memes.
Yeah.
The Arrested Development one was my favorite.
In 2018, this is an interesting little tidbit. Assange, his internet is cut in the Ecuadorian embassy, and he decides to sue and file a lawsuit against the Ecuadorian government
as he's in their embassy
for violating his fundamental human rights.
Right.
And of course, that case is dismissed. They say you're ridiculous. We've been letting you hide out and mooch off of us for the last 7 years, as literally the entire world wants you dead. But so that happens. And then all of a sudden, we wake up one morning and we see a picture of Assange and he's in the back of a police van and he's smiling and giving a thumbs up.
So he's been
and winking.
He's been in London in the Ecuadorian embassy,
right,
hiding, and now he's being extradited back to the United States. I said the day that it happened, I thought, man, he should really go ahead and try to claim time served. That would be the first point, because I already did 7 years and you only have a 5-year charge on me, and I've been sitting in the equivalent of prison. They probably wouldn't accept that, but that's what I would start with. That would be my first negotiation. Right. And then I would start putting political pressure on Trump and saying, hey, you indicated you wanted to pardon me. Let's go.
Right.
And there's a very, I've heard a number of people in the last week make the argument of what's the difference between him and a journalist. Right? They leak government information all the time.
Yeah, but the charges that are against him are a little bit different than that.
Well, sure. The government that's pissed off at him is just throwing they're picking whatever they want. But it's a 5-year charge. It's not
right.
It's not treason.
Well, yeah, but it falls under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which is kind of a loose, but
it's a catch-all, right?
Yeah, to some extent. But
Matt charges people with that every time somebody steals a calculator.
Yeah, its intention is for prosecuting hackers.
Yeah,
I mean that's basically and what he did is arguably hacking.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Obtaining,
but the same crowd that is defending Snowden is the same crowd that's defending Assange. Are these guys heroes? Are they the Nathan Hale of our generation, or are they something else?
I think I, for one.
And once again, our show is designed to provoke you and make you think for yourself. You don't have to answer that question, but we're here to challenge you a little bit.
I, for one, I agree on both counts. I do think that what Assange was doing was and is incredibly important for transparency of the United States government, especially with the information that he did leak. Because if he had leaked information that was detrimental to the safety of the United States, then he could be charged with treason. Correct? Am I wrong in stating that? As far as you know, or anybody knows? But I think that if what he had given out were top secret, confidential documents that could pose a direct threat to the lives and safety of American citizens, then it can be charged with treason. But because
show me all of the Americans that died.
Well, exactly.
All the people that were really harmed, other than the political careers of some people.
Because it's not, then he can only be charged with conspiracy to attempt to hack a government computer, right?
Right.
And I do agree that he broke the law.
He tried to crack a password.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about here. He worked with Chelsea Manning to get hashes, and I don't know how
the
technical
worst of the
you want
Manning
to get.
brothers at quarterback, Chelsea.
Yeah, to get a piece of a password file to try to hack it, to get password access to more sensitive document, a more sensitive system.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Right. Well, I mean, they have pretty solid evidence on that. I mean, they have got chats back and forth, and there's a lot of information on that already.
Just playing a little bit of devil's advocate too. There was some information with the WikiLeaks that was released too that kind of identified some covert operations.
Absolutely.
Some locations of people that were undercover that could have been that probably were detrimental to actual human life.
Oh yeah, we no doubt had to extract people that were in covert.
So, I mean, if there was something that was done or that was leaked that was actually harmful.
I do think that government needs to have this law in place because of those instances, for sure. But do I think that Assange he's guilty? Yes, he's definitely guilty.
He's guilty of free
breaking
speech.
the law.
He's a freedom fighter.
But I think that what he was doing was important.
Yeah.
That's where I stand. I think that he served his sentence by being holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years.
There was some
that was on his 5-year
penalty.
That was on his own free will in the Ecuadorian. He could have come out and then just served 5 years in prison. And
That's
then,
true.
Did he really have many options though?
Yeah.
I mean,
he could have gone to Russia, came out, but he had no idea what. He probably did know what they would end up charging him with. Yeah.
They didn't figure out how to charge him for 6 years.
Yeah, with the Clintons on the loose, he could have just offed himself twice in the head, and
that's right. He could have been suicidal.
He could have had a boating accident.
Tragedy.
Honestly,
tragedy. His plane went down on the way back.
But they did not find any evidence of him operating with Russia, and also, whenever who did he talk to? He gave an interview from the Ecuadorian embassy, like through a webcam, and he said, "I can tell you, it wasn't the Russians that leaked Hillary's emails."
Oh, was that? It was a Fox News guy.
It was Hannity.
Oh,
he was on Hannity.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't Alan Combs. Rest in peace. Too soon.
You have just been the one to mess with this the whole episode.
I'm commenting in the chat. I thought you were the co-host. You're supposed to be hosting. I'm making fun of my brother who's wanting to know why we're not talking about Russell Wilson's contract in the NHL playoffs. He tuned in for sports. Where the hell is Chase? That's what he wants to know.
Chase got fired. This isn't a sports place anymore.
Actually, if you look over Jeremiah's shoulder, you'll see a in-game used hockey stick.
Oh,
why'd you bring us a broken stick? That's pretty stupid.
We can't even use it.
Yes, you can.
It's taped.
Well, it was broken in game. So
this is a Mario Lemieux.
I don't know whose that is actually.
It could be Mario Lemieux. Could be Wayne Gretzky.
It could be anybody you want it to.
Could be Gordie Howe.
All right, Chris. Time to redeem yourself, though.
I can't do that. That's impossible.
You went to the city council meeting as you usually do. That's what you do. Monday nights twice a month, trying to prepare for when you're elected to office.
Correct. I'm generally the first person there by at least 15 minutes.
You're usually the first person here on Thursdays too. Today you let us down, but usually.
Hey.
Yeah, we were legitimately worried about your health.
I was getting my hair cut by the one and only Angela. The whole crew here. The whole crew. That's our barber.
Yep.
That's true. What about you,
Shout
Matt?
out to Angela
Do you go to
Showalter.
Angela? No, Matt doesn't go to Angela.
And Matt uses the flow.
All right, so back to the local news. You went to the local city council meeting here in Newcastle, Indiana, and there's been a lot of talk the past few weeks about the old Castle Theater.
Yeah, and again, nothing solid was brought up in the meeting. It's just Lynn Perdue, I believe it was Lynn, did say that the
City Councilman, Lynn Perdue.
City Councilman, current Republican at large, currently, I believe it was him that said that the Main Street is actually, or Newcastle downtown, as it's being referred to now, is actually going to own the Castle Theater.
Right, but before that, the mayor said that he said, we're going to buy the Castle Theater.
And then sell it, or something like that, or lease it for like $1 a year.
No, I'm talking about in the same meeting. He said, we're going to get the castle whether we get the Stellar grant or not.
Yeah.
Those are his exact words. So he's saying, we're going to get it. The city of Newcastle, we are going to get it. Never mind the fact that it's got to go up for sale regardless, unless it goes onto a tax sale.
Which it could, I guess.
Yeah.
For some reason,
the taxes are up to date right now.
For some reason, the taxes have like doubled last year.
For some reason, yeah, we looked. The public records show the taxes on that building have gone from about $4,000 a year to $10,000 a year in the last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have not heard somebody explain why they've changed or what's
Trump.
happened.
Jeez.
Yeah, somebody's got to pay for that extradition back from Sweden.
I think that I saw that the building itself went from being assessed for like $114,000 to like $340,000 in 1 year.
Why?
I don't know. I guess having a monstrosity of a flood happen to your building just makes your value go through the roof.
Unless the only way that I can think of them doing that is if they attach that building, if they're calling that building next to it that used to be the bridal shower as part of the castle now.
It's all the same parcel. Did they recently combine the parcels? I don't know.
I don't know.
Does the mayor want to get his grubby paws on both parcels?
I do not know.
We should ask him to be on the show.
We have. He turned us down twice.
There is an open door. I don't know. This feels like something that a lot of people are talking about. The council and the mayor are openly discussing what they'd like to see happen with the building. And it sounds like they're all trying to guide it into being some sort of another public building.
But the council didn't know, like they were sidestruck. Like
at their meeting, not this last week, but 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, they did seem to be very surprised by the talk of wanting to have that being a public building.
Like they were shocked that was part of our stellar grant, which Jerry just mentioned, that we are a top 4.
So the grants are a regional thing now. The Stellar Grant, it's for rural communities. OCRA, the Office of Rural Community Affairs, puts it out. Rushville, to our south, won it in 2016. And now there were a number of communities that applied, and Henry County is one of 4 finalists. I think last year 2 counties or 2 regions were awarded. So now down to kind of a 50-50 shot on whether or not our community gets this grant.
Yeah. So back to the original point. 2 weeks ago, the council was kind of just sidestruck when the mayor mentioned there was 3 things that he wanted to do with the Stellar Grant, and they were just kind of completely caught off guard by what I saw. And then there was some comments in our local paper, the Courier Times here, and that caught Aaron Dickin for sure off surprise. He
even mentioned at this previous meeting that if he had known what the mayor was going to say and what his plans were, he would have voted completely differently.
Yeah, he would have voted differently. Exactly.
So obviously, first things first, there's an obvious lack of communication between the administration at the mayor's office and the city council that's currently sitting.
That is correct.
Yeah.
The 3 things were the Castle Theater. They want to save the brick road between the library and the post office. And then the third one, I'm not really for sure.
It's a regional thing. So I know the county has some interest in the Expo Center. I know Knightstown is involved. A number of different communities and groups have come together. But I don't know what the wish list or the full wish list was for the city of Newcastle. But the castle was kind of the one that folks have talked about the most in the last week or 2.
The mayor has talked about he wants it to be a event center. And so the mayor has these plans for it, right? But he's saying we're going to lease it to this private entity that is now called Newcastle Downtown. But
my question,
but the mayor still is saying that this is what's going to happen to it, even after they take ownership of it.
Yeah.
So is now the mayor saying that he is directing what happens at Newcastle Downtown?
I don't know if it's exactly like that, but and something else that with Newcastle Downtown, and I love what they're doing with the downtown, and it's making the downtown look nice, welcoming to people. But why did the city council give them $25,000, and then now we're finding out that possibly they want to purchase the Castle Theater?
Right.
So is that $25,000 that we gave them out of the riverboat money going to be used as a purchase for
Did we basically just backhandedly buy the Castle Theater?
Do we have any oversight over that company?
This is the risk that happens to private organizations when you start getting tied in and you start mixing money with federal, not with federal, but any government organization, you start housing yourself in there, is all of a sudden it brings these questions where all of a sudden you may not be doing anything wrong, but people start asking questions and it sounds impure, right?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. And now you have this weird boundary that you don't know where the city stops and the private group starts, and it gets really messy and ugly, and it's difficult for people to understand. Very difficult to understand. The larger conversation I think that the city of Newcastle needs to start having with itself is how many of these buildings that are downtown do you want to have be government or nonprofit owned versus ones that are contributing to the tax base? Because right now that building is paying, I guess it's paying $10,000 a year into the county, which is benefiting, public safety, schools, yada, 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 everything that we pay out of property tax dollars. So now you're going to start taking that out because it's going to be controlled by a private organization, or it's, leased to a 501c3 or owned by the town or owned by the city, or owned by a county. If you look at a map, you jump on Beacon and you look at downtown Newcastle, Indiana, and you start looking at the property owners and seeing who owns the facilities down here, the map is turning more and more and more on the side of $0 paid, $0 paid, $0 paid. Need to have that conversation. And is that what we want to do?
And the thing
is this, if this can actually benefit, right? If this facility can be profitable and be successful, like I know that there's a nonprofit that runs the Strand Theater. I think it's the Strand Theater in Shelbyville. And it's run by volunteers that do that every day, or that are the ones that make it happen. But a private organization really needs to make that happen, or it needs to be for profit so they have an interest in doing it.
I think it's Franklin. I know there's one in Franklin.
I know that I went to one in Shelbyville recently as well.
Okay.
And I know Rushville, with their stellar money in 2016, took their old theater, and it's the city hall, and it's also a movie theater.
Right.
It's a multi-purpose building. So there are things that have been done in the past, but right now it's very cloudy. And I think the larger conversation is, do we want this to be what cities are doing? What the cities do. Is this right? You're going to have an expo center. You've got a hotel that's being built. You've got an armory. You've got the Metropolitan building a block away. You've got a number of public meeting spaces. How does this fit in?
1,400 Plaza.
1,400 plazas right there. There's a lot of nice facilities, but man, there's not that many of them that are privately owned. So are they all going to be paid for by taxes?
What are we going to do about our roads? How are we going to fix our roads?
Hold on a second. Kirsten Kronk just correctly guessed Jeremiah's Myers-Briggs personality type just based on his stance about Notre Dame.
Why did it take Kirsten this long to type that out? We were talking about that an hour ago.
It's hilarious. She correctly guessed it. Yes, it's an he's an ENTJ. Yeah, that's hilarious. I love that. That's so funny.
Sorry, I'm not so emotional about a building. The people lived. I'm not that emotional over the castle either, guys. I just want to know who's going to pay for it, and who's going.
The other thing about the castle is that the mayor's having this conversation, and the mayor's saying we are going to acquire this building, and he's saying all this before any type of private entity gets to have a say in the conversation.
It's like a short circuit, right?
We don't even know if there's interest in the building because it's never gone up for sale.
The building could be leased. It's not available to purchase. It's owned by a trust. And it sounds like there are negotiations taking place
over the trust,
with the trust or involving the trust, but it's not on the street. It's not like you can ask to tour it and purchase the thing. Yep. So Dakota, you can't open your brewery in it because it's not available to you.
Right.
The city seems to be jumping in front of you.
Yeah. They're going to pick and choose the winners.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
It's straight up cronyism, and I'm disappointed in the administration of Mayor Greg York for doing it. And I'm also disappointed that no one has spoken up against it. I do want to point out that Aaron Dickin, kudos to Aaron Dickin for being a good city councilman, and he brought up a lot of these concerns at the last meeting, a lot of really valid questions, and asked them to the mayor. Some good points. I know he said it was from an email from a constituent. He did a good job. He did a good job for sure. And he questioned the mayor. He even told the mayor right there in the meeting, if I had known what you were going to say to the paper, I would have voted completely differently. And that's the type of leadership that we're looking for in city councilmen. Someone who's not afraid to tell the mayor what he thinks. Because, I mean, it's not even the mayor's meeting to run. The mayor runs the Board of Works meetings. The president of the city council is supposed to be running that meeting, not Greg York.
So I think it's time for people to just have the discussion about these buildings, because Mike Broyles is in our chat and says, hey, unless there's a demand for the buildings, they're going to sit empty, or the city or a 501c3 is going to have them. And we've seen a number of buildings come down and, you know, parking lots and other things come back in place. And Mike and his group have saved the building that we're in. We're downtown Newcastle. The conversation is okay, if there's not an economic base to save these buildings for them to be here, then they won't be here anymore. They're going to end up failing, like the building on the west end of our courthouse is. That's probably not got a lot of life left in it because it's missing a side, and the downtown decays. But that's a county building that's not getting taken care of. You're going to have that. You've got a lot of county buildings that aren't being used at all right now. So either get them on the property tax rolls and get them out there in private hands, or they need to come down because they're just going to be a safety issue. It's a real discussion to have. And there's not an easy answer. They've been sitting empty for a long time, but it's also, you know, if you put a TIF in place and you do what Rob Kendall did in Brownsburg, where you create a TIF, people come in, they spend money in those communities, the things that they generate, they pump it back in, and everybody downtown says, hey, this is what I want to be a part of, and we're going to chip in, and we're going to bring back the downtown with local tax dollars that are from the business owners and the people that participate here. Then let's have that conversation. But let's just not commit to a project on the front end and then figure out how we're going to do it on the back end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the thing that's getting short circuited.
I think that it was Chris and I that were talking, and I hadn't thought about it. Like, well, we had just started kind of having a conversation, and I said, you know, I would have been okay if the Newcastle downtown, the nonprofit organization, wanted to buy the Castle Theater and do something in it. Like, I'd be fine with that. But then we just gave him $25,000 of taxpayer money as well, right? So
that's where it starts to cloud that line.
Yeah.
Right?
So am I okay with it? I don't think so. Not at this point, because then we just basically bought it for them. We gave them the money so that they could do that with it.
Listen, the building may end up getting donated. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But even if you get a donated building, then it becomes who operates it. So are you voluntarily doing it? Are you getting sponsorships? How does the operations end on the back end? The operations of it on the back end.
There's maintenance that needs to be done. Obviously, it was horribly flooded this past winter. Just recently, had a horrible flood inside of it. There's going to be the obvious problem of the electric bill, which we know is pretty high around here, just from our own experience in downtown buildings. And you have any kind of other upkeep. They want to level the floor inside of there. That's going to take a whole lot of work. Who's going to be paying for that? They want to redo the front of the building. So who's paying for all this is my first question. Is it going to come from the $25,000 that we already gave them? Is the city going to give them more money? Is the city going to purchase it, do the renovation, and then try to lease it to them? But, I mean, how does this stand? There's no transparency in this issue at all.
I, for one, think they need to steal the Terre Haute casino that's trying to happen and put a casino there.
I think that it would be a great place for my friends down in Columbus, Indiana, to open up another location. That way, whenever they have a
425 really north.
Yeah. That way, whenever they have a release, like I'm going to tomorrow, I don't have to drive all the way to Columbus and have to wake up at 5:45 to get down there.
All right. One last thing I did to upset the world this week. I've had a knack for it. I was driving to work on Tuesday morning, and Guffey, you had attended a city council meeting Monday evening, and there was discussion about the city buying a hot patch machine, or a machine to be able to reuse millings, I guess, and turn it back into asphalt.
Yeah. So what I was going to, I believe Lee said that the demo version that they had was 77,000 and some change, or something like that. And what it could do is, so we could mill the roads, and then we would be able to use those millings and put them directly right back in and make our own hot mix. And then we wouldn't have to transport or go anywhere to get it. And also, it would reduce our cost for hot mix by 30%. And it lasts so much better than the cold mix.
So yeah, they've been doing cold patch, and when asphalt plants are open, asphalt plants are typically only open from about April through November, December or so.
Yeah.
They can't
October,
operate in cold temperatures. So the nearest asphalt plant to us in Henry County is in western Delaware County, Daleville, Chesterfield area. So if the city wants to pick up hot mix asphalt on some patching they're doing, they have an hour minimum round trip from leaving the city, driving up to Delaware County, getting it, coming back. They've got a couple guys in their truck, so they're not working on the roads at that time. They're traveling all the way up there to pick it up.
And without the recently purchased hot box that we have, you have to use that hot patch in like within 3.5 hours. Is what they say.
It's got a shelf life.
Yeah.
We as a community have said no to an asphalt plant a number of times. There was in the last 5 years or so, there was a proposal by Milestone contractors to locate down in the I-70 State Road 3 area, and that wound up failing in a commissioner's vote. It made it out of the planning commission, but it failed on a commissioner's side. And I don't know where it is, but we have a 400 square mile county.
Yeah.
Right. We have to be able to find a place for this to work. We are bitching constantly as a community about roads that aren't paved, that aren't right, that aren't working. But we only have one place to pull asphalt from, and it's not in our community. So when you advertise for bids and you want to get work, you're paying a premium. You're paying extra money to go get that. It's not good. It's not working. And I made this post and it went far. A lot of people agreed with me, and then even more were really pissed at me, which has been my knack this week. But we got to have this conversation.
Classic ENTJ, am I right, Kirsten?
Carmel has one on 96th Street. I was reminded of that. So
Two of them.
Yeah. So Carmel has them, but we can't. We're apparently better than Carmel now. But they needed them for the roundabouts, right? I mean, that's the only, you have to have as many roundabouts as they put in. I guess you got to have an asphalt plant close by.
And their roads are great up there.
Hamilton County.
They really are.
Potholes.
They are really pretty good.
I drove up there every day, man.
It's not a joke. They're pretty good roads, but they're also under crippling debt. So at least we don't have that going on. We're just buying a theater for no reason.
And we don't even have asphalt to throw in the hole to level it out.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. It is what it is. These are the conversations we need to have because we're stuck in time. We're not going anywhere.
Seems like we have the room to add something like that.
Yeah.
I think we had a commissioner agree.
Yeah, Ed Tarantino weighed in.
Yeah.
New Commissioner Tarantino was on board with the plan.
Yep.
You got to find a place for it. I don't know where it's at, and Spangle picks on boomers constantly. Baby boomers, they're the problem. At this point, I think NIMBYs are the problem. Not in my backyard crew has made my hot list, and I don't know what it's going to be, but it's got to figure it out. Mike Royal says, it was put in when 96th Street was farmland. Yeah, but it still developed around it, right?
Right.
Stuff still happened. It did not kill development completely. Listen, is there a perfect
Michael
place
Cleveland
for it? No.
says, don't roundabout us to death because it's hard to get a truck around up in Hamilton County. Totally agree.
Our next
I drive
roundabout,
bucket trucks around all day. It sucks.
Our next
Especially
roundabout will be our
peanut-shaped
first
ones.
roundabout. Whew. But there are truck routes too. You've got options. It's not like you have to drive your truck through there. There are still truck
I like
routes.
them in my personal vehicles.
Yeah.
I do like roundabouts a lot. After you got to figure out how they work first. And whenever I remember being a young man driving and running across my first roundabout and was like, don't know what this is, but I'm going to try.
Here we go.
Anderson at Scatterfield has a roundabout just off of Scatterfield over towards the old Applewood Center. And that one, you could sit there and eat popcorn and watch people turn left into the thing.
Oh yeah.
It is rough. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. It's crazy.
They're left.
It happens.
Look at this guy going the wrong way. I'm trying to turn left.
It was my turn. Yeah. Why is the stoplight missing? Oh man. All right. Anyway, that's all I've got. That's it for the program portion of the show. It's like 9:00 and we still have to do final thoughts.
Yep.
Did we pick all the scabs in the community off?
I think so. We've hit quite the list. You can still join the Patreon and go hear what we talked about beforehand. Picked on a police force a little bit in Virginia.
We picked on a police force. Now we've had an officer sitting with us the entire show, just staring at us. I'm somewhat concerned about what our future is this evening. We may end up with the Assange treatment. I don't know. All right, final thoughts, Kade.
All right, I got an honest question.
All right,
how many Canadian geese do you guys think you could fight off?
6.
Hold on.
You could make it 6?
If they were all, if they were all coming out,
you
at
asked
me,
you at one time, or
we
in a row?
going in like 2 waves of
I'm
3,
talking prison rules. You make one mad, you make them all mad.
and they all come out.
Are they all full grown?
How big is the flock?
They're all full grown.
Full grown
They're
Canadian geese.
old enough to be in prison.
6. I've choked chickens before, so I think that I could just start.
Your hands are very
start whacking
callous
them, just
from
whack.
From chicken choke.
Grab them, just grab
I
them
could
by the
just
head.
if I could just get them by their necks, I could
That's what I'm
I could
saying.
windmill my way pretty far.
You could use the bodies of the other 2 to fight off the rest of them.
Exactly.
You and Levon
That's 20
Gross,
pounds you're swinging.
You got
Or,
some Canada geese nunchucks
I'm going to
going.
wear out eventually, but come on.
Levon was saying that he thinks he could do it until cardiovascular exhaustion.
Yeah.
He said he could go all day.
They're biological limits. Yeah.
I'm still saying 6.
Do I get a pocket knife or anything?
I think that I'd be trying to fight some
Yeah,
off,
if,
and then
if
other
you
ones
carry a
would just
pocket
weapons.
knife daily, sure, I'll give it to you.
Let me have a pocket
man.
knife.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, 7 then.
I can.
But apparently it's
go
nesting season.
I
and
can go
they're-
100.
You could go 100?
I could go 100.
That is way out of the park of the numbers that I got when I posted this on my
Stabby.
Facebook.
Yeah, I could do it.
You could stab.
Nah.
Have you seen me?
You'd be.
What a monster.
I'd be doing it for Spangle's glory. Thank you, dear leader. I think I could do it. Listen, I'm born 2 miles from Canada. I've got Canadian goose.
I'm sorry,
My-
but your
my
dad says
fear-
they'll kick your ass.
I could do it. They'll fight back. They'll be mad.
Yeah.
But
Paul's,
I can
Paul's
go.
seen you fight, so I believe Paul. I think you could be going at a couple of them and be really doing some damage, and then a few would start flying, and some would start coming at you from above, some would be coming at you from below.
Yeah.
That's where it would get tough once they start
I'm just
strategizing.
I'm not sure
once
if
they
they're-
become self-aware.
I don't know if they're
I mean,
sentient
what are we
enough
wearing?
to recognize psychological stoppage.
Are you wearing a long sleeve shirt and you got a little
Just
protection?
what you wear every day? Like
I'm
tomorrow, if you were walking to your car,
So
you
you're wearing
make
your
one of
khakis.
them mad.
I'm wearing jeans and a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
And a hard hat.
If you want to take your shirt off,
You
and
don't
use
wear
it,
a
you
hard
can.
hat every
with
day.
my chin strap that's in the car.
Okay, let's just you have totally just lied. You
give
are
me-
just like Greg York.
Give me
Okay,
my full. Give me my full PPE. I can do 100.
All right.
Give me if I'm driving down the road. I'm walking from my car. You said I'm walking from my car. I've got everything that's at my disposal in my car. No weapon, no guns. 100.
oh my
I can do
God!
100.
If
think I
we're
could-
going with our daily drivers,
I could make it
give me
work.
my bucket truck. I mean,
That's right.
I got a jib. I just start hitting those babies in the head. I'm up in the air. They can't reach me.
Well, moral of my question is
Prison rules.
it's nesting season, so everybody be careful out there. Keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, if you see a goose egg,
Your
crush it. That's what you're
Threat
saying.
awareness should be through the roof this time of year for Canadian geese.
Your dad is in the live chat, and he said, "Just go mess with the nest and find out."
Let me know when you do.
We're gonna have to take
the
a
Mevo's
Mevo.
going.
We're gonna have to take a Mevo for this. Go down to Memorial Park around the Doughboy.
Yeah,
and see what's going on.
This
Boy,
would be
there will
better
be-
than the
there
time
will be an arrest.
Kade choked me out 6 times.
Join the Patreon to see what that was about. All right, so that was your final thought.
That was my final thought. That's all I got.
goose shooting.
Be very careful
Goose
around
fighting.
Canadian geese this time of year.
What about you, Chris? Young Guffey?
Let's do I want to do a quick finance update. Just quick, because the filing deadline's the 22nd. We currently know, including myself, 6 candidates' finance situation. And I have
You got their tax returns?
not their tax returns, but their CFA
Bernie?
forms. Or I've asked them. And of the 6, I am the top earner with $1,585 and some change.
You've outraised all 6 of them combined.
All 5 combined. And a total of them is just north of 400. So
yeah.
I've almost quadrupled them. We're still waiting on Koger, Peckinpah, Purdue, Mayor Greg York, and Brenda Grider.
All right. Well, we will stay tuned. I hear that you're this show is going to be the only media outlet that reports on it.
That's what I was told.
Unless old Eldon Pitts at the Middletown News has some up his sleeve.
You said the Courier Times didn't view it as news yet, not until the general election.
That's what I was informed.
Man, that editor down there, I question his judgment.
Fake news,
sometimes.
Travis. I guess.
I don't know.
Guess we shouldn't say too much. We're trying to get him on for Tuesday.
He is joining Tuesday. We're just poking the bear. Well, Josh, is this terrible?
No. So do I get final thoughts?
This is your
too?
chance for final
Yeah.
thoughts.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay, so the calendar, it needs to be 12 months of Kade choking out, other
Guffey.
people.
Yeah. Oh, of the whole cast.
Yeah, exactly.
We can do that.
Josh, I don't like that idea.
Volunteer right now.
April, he's choking a goose.
Yep.
And then the other 11 months he's choking.
We'll go
a
right down to
person.
Memorial Park and I'll snatch one.
Just make sure the DNR officer isn't there.
Yeah.
It's okay, sir. We have a permit.
Yeah.
This just says I can do what I want.
I'm sorry. This
Started it.
This is official media business. It's for a calendar.
Joe Young looked the other way.
It's freedom of speech.
I'm expressing myself. This is art.
Self-defense. What are you talking about? I was just walking here.
It's an illegal alien. I don't know what the camera's
Admiring
about.
the doughboy in its new location.
Brant Spicer, 12 months of Kade choking people and animals. Shut up and take my money.
It's already a hit.
We already take your money, Brant. We want new people's money.
We need to hire Josh as a full-time consultant, I think.
I hope he works for Guffey Pay. He just gets paid in abuse.
We already have armed security here. I feel pretty safe.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
He's keeping my wife out of the room. It's
That's what he's doing.
she's messaging me saying, "Make him unlock it." Dakota, final thoughts.
Are you done, Josh? You have anything else?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I think my final thoughts are we got kind of heated today, called Mayor York a liar. So I want to say that the views expressed in this podcast are not necessarily those of Joshua Gideon. So first of all, get that out of the way.
Those are not necessarily the views of the Boss Hog of Liberty or the Boss Hog of Liberty Enterprises. Those are exclusively the views of Dakota Davis and the Davis household of Spiceland, Indiana.
Only I believe that Mayor York is a liar. That's just me.
We're here to make you think.
We're here to provoke you now.
Just Greg. Only Greg.
Just great.
He can come on the show and defend himself. That's all I'm trying to do is looking out for us as an empire.
You're going all Rob Kendall on him now.
Yeah.
It's Rob Kendall versus Governor Holcomb, Dakota Davis versus Mayor York. That's what's happening.
I don't even live in the city, but bring it on.
I'm not sure Rob Kendall is.
So
Yeah, you're picking on Mike Pence.
since I have been attacking an official that doesn't represent me directly, I think that I need to attack an official that could represent me directly. Well, I guess he kind of does because he works for the county. That is our socialist friend, Darren Jacobs. We went and paid property taxes this year, first time in Spiceland. And
Did he laugh when he took your check?
no. Yeah, I was informed. I was given a letter. And
You probably don't get the senior citizen discount anymore in that house, do you?
I don't think so. There wasn't anything about a discount. I don't know. Anywho, they were more expensive than my lot in Newcastle, if you
Well, no
can
kidding.
imagine.
You moved into a palace.
Compared to that place. Yeah. Anywho, I was given a letter and a map, and then informed that my property taxes will be raised by $25 next year because of
You paying for the Spiceland ordinance enforcer or what?
no, not for you. I'm paying for them to clean the watershed, something like that.
Well, quit pissing in the watershed.
The creek runs right next to my house.
You're going to pay $25 a year?
And listen,
guess what? I'm going to pay $30 a month for the rest of my life for what's happening
Do you
in my
get a
yard.
sticker for your car?
I've been down there. I've been at our creek, and I've been taking pictures of it with my new camera, and it looks clean to me.
Did you drink the water?
I didn't.
Why don't you and Darren Jacobs do a photo op and you drink the water out of the creek and just see who lives?
Hold up a glass like the people in Flint, Michigan do.
Eat his hot peppers, and you have to drink that water.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that Darren's doing what he
That
does
is
best and charging people more money.
That is a Big Blue River tributary, and it's good for it's the greater good.
I was told that you have to pay this. It wasn't a thing of.
Of course, it's not optional.
It wasn't a thing of we're cleaning, right? We're cleaning this water supply, so your property taxes will be raised by $25 unless you decide to opt out. In which case, the watershed wouldn't be cleaned. But anyway,
all right,
that's my only.
That's it.
Quarrel.
Are you done bitching?
Yeah. Well, at least Darren was honest with me, unlike what Mayor York has done.
All right.
At least he sent a letter out and communicated some of his plans.
Final thoughts for me. A couple of my friends that I've gotten to know over the years who are way more successful than I am. Mark Brim, last week's guest, he met his childhood legend, Bo Duke.
Bo Duke, yeah.
John Schneider was in Rushville.
Didn't even stop by and say hi to
I don't
us.
know how we got skipped, and we didn't know. Mark knew about it and didn't tell us. He showed up in Rushville at the right time. But if you look, we shared it on our YouTube page, and you can go to Mark Brim's page. He put together a really neat 3-minute video, a lot of fun. He went in and he forgot how old his kids were in the video, but in spite of that, I think he's still a pretty good dad. And he was bragging on his boys to Bo Duke, so that was pretty cool. He's not Luke Duke, but hey, Bo Duke's pretty cool. And they had the General Lee parked on the county square. And
hold on. Kirsten Cronk just made a comment about me choking the chicken. And I would point out that
you're not allowed to do that in Spiceland. There's laws against chicken in Spiceland.
I did not understand the innuendo whenever I made it. That was not on purpose. I was just saying that I've killed chickens before.
When we shoot this calendar, we're getting a rubber chicken. And
the rest of the room definitely got the innuendo.
I'm telling you that right
I thought that I made a good joke. And then now that I'm like reading the words for myself, I'm like, ha, that was a good joke.
Like, yeah, when I was 14, I used to choke a chicken all the time. I don't know why y'all are laughing.
Why is that funny?
All right. So check out Mark Brim's video. And Sarah and I are back on the Amazing Race train. Our friend Rupert Bonham, who is the 2012 Libertarian candidate for governor. I got to know him when I was running for state rep. Shelbyville, Indiana. Rupert, Shelby County. He's on the Amazing Race with his wife. Tune in fast. They finished next to last. They almost got eliminated last night. So get in and watch it. But the
contestants that had already done the Amazing Race before ended up going home first.
Yeah, the ones that want. So you watch it too.
Pretty funny.
It was a lot of fun.
It's just like basketball. I watched the highlights.
Go Sparty. All right, that's enough of this. This has been fun. Next week, it's a new early week, Tuesday,
not Thursday next week.
Travis week, Wyke, Budweiser, whatever. And we've invited Mark Brim, but now that he's famous, we don't know if we can get him.
Yeah,
we're trying. If not, I guess we'll settle for Kade. I don't know.
Kade might be in the farm.
We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.